thank you, thank you all for being here. And on behalf of my brothers and myself, I just welcome you to this celebration and remembrance of the life of Vlad Dupre. And for many of you, he was Dad, for some, Pappy, and others, Vlad. And he was remarkable. And he would love this, the whole thing. We are at a place that was the most precious place for him. This place that he and Mom bought, all of you have had immeasurable, wonderful, fun, serious, messy, chaotic times here. And he loved the landscape. When you ask any of his grandchildren what Pappy did for a living, he said he's a farmer. He spent hours out here. And it is a gift that Aaron and Christine, where are they? Right here, have invited us back and let us, like the moth or the locust, kind of take over the place. So, before we begin, I just want to express some thank yous. First to Dad, and I'm going to cry. So some people compose themselves and go on, and I will not. I just want you to know that's going to be me. And Dad devoted time, energy, resources, finances to help people in this family gather and friends gather. And we are here because of him. We are his most important legacy. And so he's number one. Number two, I want to thank our family, because 43 of us have gathered, and every single one of us, and have come from far distances, and traveling is difficult nowadays. And no matter, you showed up, and that means a lot to all of us. And then friends and neighbors and people from Oakland, I appreciate you so much. I can't tell you how Dad felt welcomed in this community. He was an oddball for this community. You know, you have to agree with that. And yet, you know, all of you kind of forged a special relationship with him that he talked about and really cherished. So, I want to thank the Crops, Diana and Rick, because when Dad bought this place, when you were driving in, there was a beautiful piece of property that you drove through. And Diana and Rick lived down the lane, and they helped Dad in unbelievable ways achieve this vision that he had. They ground him in reality when he needed grounding in reality, but they were there to order plants, plant plants, mow, renovate, and just be his friend, because it could be isolating out here. So thank you to the two of you. And then Aaron and Chris, yes. Woo! And then Aaron and Christine bought the place from Dad about 12 years ago. And they are Rick and Diane's, or Aaron is Rick and Diane's son. And he helped, mow and take care of this place when he was but a child, right? Yeah. And so And I don't know exact family history, but the crop property, this used to all be crop property. Wilson, Wilson, which is Diana. And this place was kind of broken off. And so it was kind of prophetic that Aaron bought it, and it's now back in the family. And I think Dad cared about the land. He created a butterfly sanctuary for the state butterfly so that it's preserved forever. And I think Aaron and Christine shared those values and those that approach to the land. And most significantly, they invited and encouraged Dad to come back for the remainder of his life. And Tom and I brought him back along with some other family members in 2017 at the age of 97. And so, and then today, I mean, you've worked to make this a beautiful place and hospitable for us, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you. So, did I remember everybody? Does everyone feel covered here? Oh, yeah. No, I have one more. Rebecca Potts Dupre, where are you? Right here. This would not have happened without her. And I personally, this is, the family can thank you, but I am looking at you in the eye, and I am saying, thank goodness for you. And you made it fun. Yeah, yeah. So, so thank you so much. So everybody needs to acknowledge that we are here because of, and things are organized because of Rebecca. All right, I knew I didn't want to read. All right, so we're going to do one of the things that I want to do, and I think you can already feel it in the atmosphere, but, you know, Dad had a formal piece of himself. He was serious. But he also didn't like formality necessarily. So this is going to be informal. Meaning, if you need to get up, the restrooms are over there. If you need to move around, if the kids get antsy and they need to, you know, flutter, that's okay. He loved the full catastrophe of life and, you know, would just enjoy that people are enjoying this space. So I want to get us we've kind of settled down, but I want to get us moving. Just please oblige me, because I want people to see who is in this space. So what I would like is for all of Dad's children to stand up. And I'm one. All right, and now their spouses. Lori back there is indicating that she's standing. Okay, you can sit down. Okay, now I want all his grandchildren to stand up. Yay. And spouses. All right. Yay. Or significant others, or, yeah. All right. You can sit down. Okay. Now I want all of Pappy's great-grandchildren to stand up. Yay! Okay, all of you are Dad's most important legacy, right? Right? It's important that you know who Pappy is. Okay, enough. Yes, Livy. All right, I want Neighbors to stand up. Neighbors. Yay. Yes. All right. Are there any people from Dad's Garden Club here? Yay. All right. How about friends of the family? They're back there and here. Yay. Thank you. All right. Did I get everybody? The children of neighbors. Yay! All right. All right. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give you just kind of a sense of where we're going today. We're going to spend a little bit of time making Dad real for us, to make him come alive a bit. And so my brother Dan is going to contribute to that. We have some pictures of Dad that we're going to share that will help with that. And then Peter has another take on Dad that he's going to share. And then we'll spend some time amongst us sharing some stories or just reflections and memories of times with Dad. After that, we're going to move up to the glade, which is the garden up here that he created, where both he and Mom's ashes are going to be kind of strewed in kind of by the root ball of a big maple, red maple that is being planted, has been planted. We're going to have a little bit of singing, little music. So hold on, and I'm going to give this over to Dan.
Thanks, Susie. Not used to using a microphone. So a lot of you have a kind of life history of Dad. What I'm going to read is an abbreviated version of that, but I'm leaving out some interesting stories. And so, if you have time, read that obituary. So Vladimir Dupre, our father, our grandfather, great-grandfather, father-in-law, friend and neighbor, was born in Czechoslovakia on September 22nd, 1920. His parents were Americans who managed an international student union in Prague. The family, which now included his brother John, or Yenny as his nickname was, returned to America in 1925. So it was kind of too early for Dad to form memories, very many strong memories of his birthplace. But his name and the annual baking of the Czech Christmas bread, Vinochka, carried echoes of his, what to us was a real exotic past, this idea that he was born in Czechoslovakia. Dad lived most of his childhood, though, in Worthington, Ohio, but he really never told many stories about Worthington. Instead, his strongest memories were of the weeks spent at Amblewood, which was the summer home created by his maternal grandparents near Cape Cod. Pappy and Mammy, his grandparents, presided over a large household of 5 daughters and 1 son, their spouses, and 15 grandchildren who filled their times with games, skinny dipping, trips to the beach, chores in the garden, and evening prayer services led by Pappy, who was a Methodist bishop. Despite the fond memories of singing hymns, religion didn't really stick too well to Dad. What did stick was his love of large family gatherings. There's a through line between Amblewood and our regular family reunions, and to Dad's purchase of and devotion to this beautiful place that we called Woodhill, after the nursery school my mom used to teach at. Dad met Elizabeth, speaking of Mom, Elizabeth, or Ibby, at Oberlin College, and was drawn to her vivacious personality. Mom was emotional and theatrical, while Dad was analytical and serious, a combination that created both romantic sparks and countless arguments. He later wrote about his annoyance and his love of, and this is his words, her inconsistency, emotional excesses, flamboyance, and tendency to dramatize everything. And he wrote about Mom's dislike and dependence on, quote, his predictability, seriousness, emotional distance, lack of humor and fun, and over control. She used the phrase he was part of the dull man's club. They wed in 1944 and fought throughout their marriage, but also came to rely on each other to find balance and respect in their pairing. That's why I don't like holding a mic. After college, Dad worked in New York City for the Fellowship of Reconciliation, a civil rights organization. This was an exciting time in his life, right out of college. He went to clubs and had lively conversations with Billie Holiday and other musicians between their sets. But World War II and the draft hung over him. Following the example of his father, who became a pacifist after World War I, Dad applied for alternative service as a conscientious objector. He ended up in a forestry camp near Waldport on the coast of Oregon. That included a number of COs, conscientious objectors, interested in theater, the visual arts, and creative writing. Dad was drawn to artistic people, but he had no particular talents in that area. So he found his niche handling the printing press and serving as an arts administrator in his spare time. He kind of grew tired of forestry work, so he shifted to cooking for the men. Although the food was institutional, I think this kind of marked the beginning of his lifelong passion for cooking and for food. Mom joined Dad in Oregon after their wedding, and they lived in a little cabin on the beach. She hitchhiked to Portland to waitress when they ran low on money, but she also participated in the theatrical productions in the camp. They made lifelong friends at Waldport, and those days remain a touchstone in their lives. That time was tinged with sadness, though, as they dealt with Yenny's death. He had served as a non-combatant medic and was killed in the Philippines by a sniper in 1944. It took Dad a very, very long time to open himself to the grief of that loss. Mom and Dad moved to Chicago in 1945 so that he could pursue a social science PhD at the University of Chicago. And they lived there to kind of pay their way through school. They lived and worked for S.I. Hayakawa, an English professor, who later became a senator from California. Mom took care of their children while Dad cooked. There's some interesting anecdote in there in the longer version about Dad's cooking for the Hayakawas. Susie was born in Chicago in 1948, but Dad soon got his first teaching job at Hanover College in southern Indiana. Over the next 10 years, they had 5 more children: John, Peter, David, Chris, and me, Dan. Small town life, which continued when Dad took a job at Grinnell College in Iowa in the early 1960s, made it kind of easy to raise a large family. Dad walked from his campus office back home for lunch, and the older kids roamed freely through the town, the campus, and the nearby woods with friends. That blending of work and home life spilled into the summers. All of us would pile into our Volkswagen bus to travel up to a cabin on Crystal Lake, Michigan, and later Bethel, Maine, where Dad would lead workshops while Mom loosely supervised the kids. Dad's professional ambitions led the family away from small-town college life toward a kind of rockier period in his life and our lives. A 1-year sabbatical in Detroit was followed by a job at the University of Kansas. In the mid-1960s, Dad began a transition away from teaching to becoming a leader in this emerging field of organizational development. That led to another move, this time to Bethesda, Maryland in 1969. Dad had been recruited by the National Training Laboratories, and he soon became president of NTL. These upheavals coincided with Mom's increasing struggles with alcoholism and strains in their relationship as Dad devoted more and more time to his work. By the middle of the 1970s, both Mom and Dad began confronting their compulsions. Mom gradually stopped drinking, and Dad left NTL and embarked on a career as a therapist, which he did well into his 80s. Since their last child had left home for college, me, they had to learn how to be together as a couple. In the 1980s and early 1990s, they traveled the world together by going on walking tours. Dad explored his interests in cooking and collecting art, while Mom decided to go back to school to get her master's degree in social work and ended up working with substance abusers. They both modeled an admirable process of self-reflection that led to midlife reinvention. It was in the 1980s that they purchased this house and property that they came to call Woodhill, a special place for family gatherings and solitary pleasures, their own Amblewood. Dad pursued a new interest in gardening and transformed the landscape with the invaluable help of all of the crops, Rick and Diana, along with their kids, Aaron and Tammy. Mom and Dad's 10 grandchildren frequented Woodhill, giving them a special delight as they participated in and watched games of frisbee golf and croquet, tracking through the snow, exploring the old cemetery, swimming, boating, fishing, and catching newts in the pond, bonfires, and stargazing at night. Dad shifted into a more solitary life at Woodhill after Mom's Alzheimer's forced a move to a nursing home nearby. The older he got, the more he missed Mom, a companion to grow old with and to reminisce with about a shared life. But Dad continued to love Woodhill, even in solitude. He didn't even mind being snowed in for days and days. He stayed in close touch by phone and letters with his grown children, who he loved very much. Family reunions, echoes of Dad's Amblewood summers, countered the solitary quiet of Woodhill. With 6 children scattered around the country by the late 1970s, Dad began to gather the family together for a week in a wide variety of places, including Colorado, Maine, Cape Cod, Mexico, California, and North Carolina. While his children and grandchildren gradually took over the planning and organization of the reunions, Dad's drive and spirit lives on through those gatherings. Dad's move to the University Retirement Center in Davis, California in 2010 was not easy because it meant leaving Woodhill. The fact that the property went to Aaron helped, since he had worked hard with his dad to improve the house and the land. He and Christine invited Dad to visit Woodhill throughout the remainder of his life, as Sue's mentioned. His last visit was 3 years before he died. In California, he continued to do the things that had long enriched his life: surround himself with art, cook good food, connect with friends and family, and travel to beautiful places like Point Reyes, Sierra Nevada mountains. A growing number of great-grandchildren brightened his final years, as did visits with the Beasleys, the children of Mom's sister Mary, who lived out in California. While Dad's short-term memory was challenged, his hearing and sight almost non-existent, his body in some pain, he was remarkably present and alive. A couple of days before he died, Susie took him on a 2-mile walk in his wheelchair, which he relished, pointing out the various trees and plants that he loved. He died a good death, suddenly one morning when his heart gave out. Can't ask for a better way to go. His last picture, taken the night before, which is on the cover, shows him toasting the world with his glass of juice, a gleam in his eye and a smile on his face. He leaves such a big hole. He does, just as Mom did, but he lives on in significant ways in each of us who love and remember him.
that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. If happy little bluebirds fly above the rainbow, oh, I
Well, most of you know I'm Peter, one of Vlad's boys, and as a family, as we were planning this, I said, well, I could write a piece And then the regret hit me. Um, how do you do that? And so I'll give it a try here. I'm going to start with just a brief passage. She moaned softly as his hand, oh, wait a second, that's not the right one. Yeah. Oh boy. Well, I'm a little dyslexic, so I actually am better just talking than reading. But this is a little reflective, and I'd encourage if any of the kids want to, act it out or go play or whatever. Oh, thank you, Suze. Everybody needs an older sister, right? Yeah. Well, we can loan you one. I wanted to write about Vlad Dupre, my father, in a way that would complement Dan's wonderful obituary. Listening to the dimensions of his life, the different chapters, the places, and the people, I'm overwhelmed. The prospect of trying to represent him and his great swath across 100 years is daunting. So, for a while, I gave up on this enormous task and just dropped into memories that reveal the landscape of his life. From here, a few words and images came, and I'm writing for all of us, including you, in a way. I am the voice for those he touched. I invite you on this metaphoric journey, one where you and Dad are the heroes. My life began in the southern Indiana woods along the Ohio River. In this small, idyllic college town, each of Mom and Dad's children were formed by nature and by nurture. Years later, in asking Dad about his parenting philosophies that he and Mom had employed, he responded with, "There are too many hours in a day to parent by a philosophy. We just believed in being both loose and tight." The six of us were free to roam all day with Mom at home and Dad across the way on campus. From the safety of the bluff, we could see the winding river below on its long journey to the Mississippi and on to the Gulf. This Huck Finn world epitomized the paradox of Dad's life, the yearning for freedom and the desire for relationship. Dad was as insistent in living his 100-year journey as the lovely Ohio River. And just as the river is too vast to define, descriptions and memories speak of its character. The headwaters of childhood, the coming together of streams, each day being a small tributary, is how his life journey formed. Imprinted on me and you is the experience of Vlad as a mighty river, full of contradiction and complexity, and yet a strange, steady current, a current you could count on. I'll bet you still feel this today. So in a way, I grew up on the banks of two rivers, one literal and one my father, a father who was surely as strong an influence as the wild landscape of the Ohio. We moved 10 years later to Iowa in the midst of cornfields, yet the soul of the Ohio River, a sense of journey, came with us, with Mom and Dad. Somehow they together, not having a clue what was next, found a way to make life an adventure, loose and tight, loose and tight. As kids, we roamed, we had the longest of leashes, yet somehow sat down to dinner together each night in a somewhat civilized way. In the midst of this frontier, we had just a few traditions. Every Christmas, Dad took us out to the woods to cut a Christmas tree. Back at home, we'd decorate our little tree and sing carols. As I grew older, I asked him why he, as an atheist, would make these rituals so important. He said, "It's a sacred time. I ask for nothing more." As you know, Mom and Dad were opposites, opposites that attracted and eventually drove them each crazy. Vlad, from his beginnings in Prague, then adjusting to school in America, was serious and stoic, even a bit OCD in his rationality. If Dad was the river, steadily winding its way, Mom was a moment of creative play. She, like an otter frolicking the water, needed the river, as did we. I often say that Dad taught me management and Mom taught me magic. He was the navigator, and she was the director of play. He captained the journey. Later, I asked him how he knew where to go, what was next. The great river seemed so certain to me. He said he didn't know, but he felt life would work out, that he trusted life. Not like there was a God who only delivers blessings, but a wellspring of goodness that you can count on. That current, his certainty, is still flowing in me today, and I think we were all gifted by that example. The dominant stream of his life was being the family's captain, and one to many friends and colleagues. "Oh, Captain, my Captain." We learn to lead by watching him at the helm. When we are in doubt, a thought of his steady hand has us believing again that we can trust ourselves and trust life. Just as the Ohio had a direction, winding its way, Vlad had a fierce direction, and his life journey embodied this. Inside us, directions are symbolic and coded in us even today. Though Vlad's life moved in many literal directions, the spirit of his life moved like the Ohio, from the east, a place of tradition, towards the west and the south. Every journey, as in every river, is an expression of getting away from something. Vlad had been raised in the tradition, the church, but he moved away from it as surely as the Ohio moved away from the Pennsylvania headwaters. Vlad's life was propelled by a constant fleeing towards a prize that could never be caught, yet it gave direction to his journey. Vlad's headwater of tradition, Victorian and Christian, was to be left behind. He would wind up to the north and then to the south, a place of connection and relationship, but most dramatically to the west, the quest, frontiers of learning and exploring, a hero's journey. You have been his partner in this journey. You are like the states along the Ohio River, each with a unique relationship with Vlad. Some of you on the edge, others with tributaries deep into your middle. Each of us was formed a little headwater in us with Vlad. His listening, like a gentle rain, gathered in us and wore a little stream. Our very landscape, each different, has shaped by his listening, his partnering, and it formed our lives. He was always a force against conformity, sometimes to where I just wanted him to be easygoing and fit in. Vlad was not easygoing. He was hard-going, accepting losses, yet fighting to the end. He exercised and lived with vigor and discipline, and always had the energy of the North. Over time, the Over time, like the Ohio, he was drawn increasingly to the west, bending towards discovery, and to the south, to each of you, and towards the life of joy. Art, music, food, and company were all savored. All in all, with zigs and zags, it was a west by southwest journey, or about 245 degrees off of north. It was a little ironic that tornadoes come from the very direction that Vlad was moving towards. He liked a storm and seemed to need difficulty. In later years, he showed me how his pruning saw worked better with a light touch, yet mostly he put his shoulder into life. He did learn with cooking and with art and with each of you to put his heart into it as well, to be more present and not work too hard. Early on, he lost himself in work, an addictive whirlpool that was an escape from mom and us kids. Yet, as he experienced the limits of this northern work hard ethic, west by southwest beckoned him back to his hero's journey, the quest of relationship and discovery. Dad wanted to partner with each of us kids in forming a new adult relationship. He wanted us to join him in his quest. His way of doing this was to do something we each love. So he came to Colorado and went backpacking with me. I remember a stormy day wondering what in the world we would do stuck in this tent together. I was nervous. I read him a book I had brought, like me reading to him as though he was a child. Dad's flow, as I have emphasized, was away from tradition. Yet he traveled with so many of the shoulds and oughts of a critical parent. Later, he was more generous to others and most importantly to himself. He had fun going to an uptight Washington golf club with his friend Jerry and beating his best, not ruthlessly, but with an uncharacteristic banter and sense of humor. Jerry loved these times and called them prayerful conversations. He tried, that was, he had a stern rationality that early on viewed life as a machine. That is until he found Woodhill. You know how the hero's journey must have a call that is refused for a while, and if you're lucky, that you finally heed and go on an adventure. Dad was lucky, and boy, what an adventure was Woodhill. It was where Dad found his soul, where he entered a spiritual quest, where he communed with the land and animals and with people. It was as though the whole of him, this big river, had found the spring, the true headwaters. This nourished him to the end, even with his last years being in California. He would explain to people where he lived in California that he yearned for a snowstorm, the ones that tell you who the master is. And in June, he pined for blossoming of his gardens. Woodhill and its call is the call to adventure and the call to the West, to connection, to relationship. He would see the miracle of it in new buds, and he'd see it in his family, and he'd see it in all of you. Now our great river is gone. What now? As we look at ourselves, our landscape and that of others, we see that Vlad has carved us out. The great river has formed our very being. It has eroded sharp outcroppings. He has deposited fertile bottomland. And like in Hanover, Indiana, he has lifted up hills, a place where you can glimpse a view, where we can see what he referred to as the great continuity. They asked my childhood hero, Davy Crockett, if he had ever been lost. He said, no, but I've been a little confused for a few days at a time. In those times when we're a little bit confused, a little bit lost, we can slow down and look at the terrain of our soul. And there in our very self is a lovely valley, a winding and wild path, the one that calls us to adventure, left behind after 100 years of flowing towards the sea, cutting a path. In his path, a way for the hardy, his path of learning and connection. So we will always know which way is west by southwest. Not for us to take his path, as he insisted we find our own, but for us to travel with him long enough to be nourished by him, and for us to recalibrate our compasses. Let us all travel with him today in these lovely headwaters of Woodhill and enjoy a prayerful conversation. Vlad didn't wear his joy on his sleeve. He wore it in all of us. This is the call we have to remember that we were formed by him throughout our years.
I'm a little bit speechless right now. And please, I would welcome you if any of you want to come sit. If you're good. Okay. All right. Does he feel with us? You can conjure him up. So we'll just continue in that vein for a little while longer. So would just ask if you have something to say, you can stay where you are or come up and take the mic and share a story. Okay.
So I'm afraid to say something. I will. Am I saying it too loud?
No,
Okay.
Go ahead, go for it.
Public speaking is and exponential is not my thing. but I'm Kathy Smith. I live in what I call the bedroom community of Oakland in Mountain Lake Park, which it doesn't really have many businesses. It was established as a Victorian Chautauqua, and my great-great-grandfather was part of that establishment, and our summer home was there. So I was always drawn to the mountains, from Wheeling, West Virginia, where we lived near the Ohio River. And when one of you said that he used the word oddball, I've always felt like an oddball. And not that I felt like one with your father, but when I met him, there was a connection that I think we really did have. And now I'm going to shed tears. But we visited, my husband and I, who died, my husband died a month before Vlad died. And um, I went to I write. I have a connection in writing and with some of your family. And when he died, I went to a piece of paper, and my papers that I do some writing in go into a shoebox. So when I got the call that I had missed the invitation for today, Joyce Cheney called me and said, "We haven't heard from you." I went to the computer last night finally and read the invitation, and I went looking in my shoebox for what I had written when Vlad died. So I'm just going to share that with you if that's all right, because I put it on here because I don't memorize, never did memorize at all well. I haven't brought it up yet, but I did feel a lot of the things that you all are saying today. I almost felt like one of his children. There was such a connection that we had, and the counseling in the last part of his days. My husband was an Episcopal priest and also had a master's in counseling, and when he retired from the priesthood, he immediately went to being a counselor at the health department here in Garrett County. So Vlad and he had a lot in common when we got together as well. And I still make his lentil soup. So this is what I wrote. To Vlad, gardener, these are in the order in which I sort of knew him. Gardener, counselor, mentor, friend. Eyes hugged as he approached in his stride. Arms hallowed every one with love. Laughter said everything is good. Well, beautiful, fine. I see him. I hear the laughter. Everything is good. Well, beautiful, fine. Thank you, Vlad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody can hear me. Okay, all right. I met Vlad at the book market in Oakland. It was a very fitting place to meet such a vibrant man. He loved life, he loved food. He had us over here for tapas, which I had to look up at the bookstore to see what they were. And he had gotten all these things, served us so beautifully outdoors, and we could feel the love for this place. And his generosity allowed the garden club to have their garden tour here one year. That was fun getting ready for. But he was so enthusiastic, and his love for this place will always be here.
I have a memory of Pappy. It was at Thanksgiving dinner last year. I mean, not last year, in maybe 2019, 2020. He was just so happy to see everyone because he would live far away, and it was just hard to go see everyone. So I was really happy to see him. And he was really happy to see all of us on that Thanksgiving Day.
I'll tell a story about when I first met Vlad. We were working in California. I had met his daughter, and we were working at a school together. And he came out, and I remember him at that time. That was the early '70s, so he was in his button-down phase at that time. Three-piece suit, the beard, the white beard, the sort of very, very sophisticated-looking guy. And I thought, oh my God, this is I wonder what he thinks of me, because in those days it was, Birkenstocks and looking, the same shirt every day and all that. But he was okay. He was a quiet man and very fair. But I thought, it reminded me of the guy in the old days you would ask for their daughter's hand, and he'd be very serious about that. Well, so I found him a little different, because Susan and I were dating at that time, and Susie came to me and said, Mom and Dad are in San Francisco, and they want us to come down, and they've rented us a room. And, I'm from an Irish Catholic conservative family, and I thought, they rented us a room? Because my mother would have had us out of the house at that time. But, so they got us a room, and I got to know he was maybe a little looser than I thought. We went to this restaurant, Lear's Greenhouse, I think it was, and I got to see the eating side of Vlad, because it was a very elegant place, but it was smorgy-like, which was right up my alley. And the rest of us were sort of we had the sort of the young people smorgy thing, bypass all the salads, you go right to the good stuff at the end. Not Vlad. Vlad started at the first thing. He took a little bit of this, a little of that, sat down, and the rest of us had the mounded plate, sat down, nibbled at that thing, and we were all finished with our meal before he got his second little teeny thing, maybe a tenth of the way up the line. Now he was a cracker and a piece of cheese, and so it's like, so it was an interesting invitation to him. The third piece I wanted to mention with that was when I was loosening up a bit with him, and we went back east and went to their house, and got to meet, got to be in the house, live in the house and stay in the house with him. He was very welcoming, and he said to me, the house is yours. Just in the refrigerator, go right on in there, have whatever you want, make this your stay. And I thought, great, because there was this big ham in there that was it was beautiful. I was like, wow, look at that thing sitting in there. And I took him at his word. I got a couple of pieces of bread. I did like we made sandwiches at home. You get a knife and you have hunks of meat. You just chop off big chunks of meat, put it on there, put a lot of mustard on that thing, and you have it. And it was a great, ham sandwich. And then later on, I'm in the house and I hear this booming voice. Who the hell has been hacking up my ham? So then I learned this other thing he has about you have to cut everything like paper thin, and it has to be laid out and everything. So anyway, I saw the man loosen up quite a bit during my 40-something years with him. Anyway, a good man.
I'm gonna cry. No doubt. I have lots of memories, and I miss him. Perhaps, there's like a lot of funny memories too, because he was always, my mother's grandfather would spoil us. And that was not in Pappy's wheelhouse, spoiling with gifts. And when I was Kinley's age, he would you're hoping for like a G.I. Joe toy or something, and he would send a card that he had purchased an ox for us for a family. And it wasn't until later in life that I started to really appreciate those gifts. An ox. Yeah, for someone else. But my name was on the ox. One of my favorite memories that I will hold forever was 2003, and I got to play a character in a play at University of Oregon, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I played R.P. McMurphy, which was a character I think he loved and related to, a rebel, someone that kind of stood up against authority and And he must have been in 2003, right, in his 80s. And he flew out with Nana, and Nana was not well, but she was there. And Susie and Tom were there. My parents were there. Brooke and Dylan were there. And it was our closing night of the show. And the show went really well. And I was emotional that it was ending. And I remember, you know, the show went really well that night. And we did a curtain call. And I went out and we all bowed. And he was so proud in the stands, or in the audience. And, you know, there was music from his time. I remember Nana, he's told me that Nana was listening and humming along to all the music. Lawrence Welk was some of it. But the story goes that, you know, we had a curtain call, and then we got a standing ovation, and then the curtain closed. And what I know from everyone else is that he made his way out early in front of everyone and charged the stage and didn't use the stairs. He propped himself up, his chest, and got up onto stage and just charged into the locker room. Alex! 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 And everyone was like, who is this guy? What is this? What is going on? Like, what is this crazy guy? And he just came in, and I saw him, and it was a moment that I'll never forget. You know, he was so proud, and we had a big hug. And he looked at me, he pulled away, and he said, I'm so proud of you. That was great. And for him to, you know, not wait for me to get back out to see everyone, for him to just charge his way backstage and say, I'm the man, this is my grandson, I'm going to go say congratulations. It was a special memory. It was awesome.
I'll tell one. I graduated high school. I went into with a Vista volunteer. Then I went to New York for a while and worked. But I came home and I was kind of bruised from the world. You know, I needed a respite. And as mom and dad did so well, it was like, okay, how much time do you need? Well, couple months. Okay, you have a couple months, and then you need to move on. So those the couple months came up, and Dad said, so, you know, what's your plan? Well, I'm going to go to California. What are you going to do in California? I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there. And he said, don't you need a plan? What are you going to go to school? Are you going to work? I said, well, you know, I have my friend Ginny. I'll connect with her. We'll be able to live together, and then I'm going to figure it out. And he just kept harping on the plan. And finally, it was my moment of emancipation. Inside, I felt like really kind of shaky. But I said, Dad, if you were going to California, you would need a plan. But I'm going to California, and I don't need a plan. And he looked at me, and he goes, okay, well, good luck. And I've had a great life ever since.
I'm Tammy. I'm the vocal one of the crop. Sorry. For things that I remember of Vlad, the memory that he always used to pass on to me is seeing me dance. When he would pass, going to Oakland, him and Ibby, and coming back, I was always dancing or doing something in the front yard. And Vlad helped me, and as you had them as apparently Nana and Pappy, they were Ibby and Vlad. They were another set of grandparents for me that I inherited, and all of the what would have been his grandchildren were around my age. So, I had Dylan, there was Connor, there was Alexander. Yeah, there was, and all of you that were my parents' age, the technically Vlad and Ibby's children became the parents that were just extras every so often. Oh, we got one going in. And we're back out. We did it. Yay! And Vlad would be laughing about that. The day, I just knew Ibby and Vlad. Seeing the relationship between the two of them, they were the odd couple until the day that Ibby took her long walk and came missing one day here and ended up in Kitsmiller. Her long walk, that was the day that I saw the love that really Vlad had for Ibby. Okay. We were here on four-wheelers looking for her at the same time, but Ibby just came up missing. She was probably humming the whole way. And she loved her trip back to Oakland, and then Vlad picked her up. So, she found her way to Oakland and had probably a wonderful adventure that day through land that I've never been on. Vlad also helped me with high school projects. That's when I realized how smart that I was not, and how many issues that most likely in the future that I was going to have. I remember Ibby also just stopping in at the house and her humming, and I can still hear her just, and here she came, and it's just so happy to be wherever she may have been, and Vlad being very analytical, but Vlad was also at my wedding. I think he did have either just had gallstone surgery or he had gallstones. He was at my wedding. Vlad and Ibby became just a third set of grandparents for me. And all of you that are my age became cousins that I only got to see once every 10 years. And it's been awesome just today, just to be able to see you all and kind of go, wow, we're not 21 anymore. But we still look good, okay? We got this. And you know what? For Vlad to make it to the age that he did was not a surprise. He was going to go forever, and Ibby is still humming somewhere. she's floating around here somewhere, just humming, and I miss them. And it's very strange. My brother and my sister-in-law, they may own the place, but it's still, for us, I'm going up to, it was Vlad. You all say Vlad, and for me it's Vlad. It's still up at Vlad's, and now I've gotten better to say Aaron and Chris's, but it's still, you called it Woodhill, it was the Dupre's. So it was all of your place. So, and you're always welcome. Yes.
That means a lot to all of us.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Erman Dupre. I'm Dan's son. I just wanted to reflect on something that's personal for me about Pappy that I've reflected on with, my immediate family, but I came out when I was 15 as a young gay person, and Pappy was the one grandparent that I had left, and he was in his late 80s, and I always I think our family is proud of a sort of progressive liberal tradition. And I'd always identified with that, with Pappy. And it just, it really wasn't lost on me how incredible it is to have a grandparent that age from that generation who just really didn't think twice about it and continued to love and support and care for me in the same way that he loved and supported and cared for all of his grandkids. Just think that's amazing. And it wasn't something we ever talked about in a huge way, but he was always so welcoming and supportive of partners that I would talk about or bring here. And so it just, yeah, it's just not lost on me how few of the queer kids that I know who grew up around the same time with grandparents the same age had that kind of love and support. And I feel really bonded to Pappy through that. And it was even something that we talked about the last time we got to see him. And he was just about to turn 99. So anyway, just wanted to share that with everyone.
All right. Oh,
Hey everybody, I'm Dirk, son of Chris and Herma, brother to Elsa. I just wanted to share, it's a brief story about the last time me and my dad got to see Pappy, and I think it was similar time to when you guys saw him. He was almost 99 or had just turned 99, and we took a trip out to Lake Berryessa. I might be messing the name. And, you know, we all knew, what health issues Pappy had at that point. It was hard for him to see. It was hard for him to hear. But on that trip, I remember we sort of took a wrong turn. And for most of the ride, Pappy was enjoying the trip. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation going on. But the second we took that wrong turn, he knew. He knew. And he sort of snapped at my father like, Chris, you have to go this way. And that's something that will always stick in my mind. Just because how much he just loved adventure. And I mean, like, this family has been a huge part about why I love being out in the outdoors, and perhaps nobody more than Pappy is somebody who I saw from a very young age, you know, championing the outdoors and exploring the unknown. And so for him to be at that age and still have such a strong mental map, I'll never forget.
yeah, you'd be in the car and he's next to him and he'd be going. Point. All right. Any last?
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay.
So I'm Brenda. I'm Peter's wife, and I'm not going to get the story very good, but I'm just going to make it really quick. One of the trips that we took was in California. We had gone up to, and you're going to help me because I'm very geographically challenged. So we were going where, Pete? We were going up to Donner Summit, and I had never really had a lot of discussions with Vlad about religion or his thoughts or whatever, and so we were in the car and we were just kind of discussing, and I said, Vlad, so what are your thoughts? What do you think about what happens to us and about life? and we had gotten out and we were walking and we had gone by this little stream and we said, well, I think I'm going to just probably go and I will probably come back and I think I'm going to probably be like moss, like the moss down there in the river. And so from here on out, forever, I will never look at moss in the same way again. I'll know he's here and he's with us. So.
All right. So we're going to leave this space. And Dirk, can you put up one of Dad's nieces? I'm not sure that's the exact right relationship, but a member of our family on my mother's side, her sister's children is a wonderful artist, Lucy Beasley. And Dad commissioned her for various pieces of sculpture that were around here. Some members of the family have pieces of it, but this one, and someone helped me with what the name of it was. Well, that's what would I give? What would I give? What would I give? Yeah. Yeah. And it was symbolic of the two of them kind of having a conversation, wild as they were. And it lived over here on the pedestal. And it was a touchstone of Woodhill for us, always, as soon as it went up. But it had begun to deteriorate and fall apart. And so one of the things that Dad and Aaron talked about was what to do with this sculpture. So as a family, what Dad wanted was for that to go in, those sculptures to go into the root ball where he would be. And, we couldn't envision digging a deep enough hole to keep them whole and put them in it. So we've broken it up. And what we're going to ask you is we're going to move from this space up to the glade. And how about you guys? How about the children? How about all of you? You go and get a piece of the sculpture, and then you lead the way for all of us up to the glade. Okay? Yeah. Okay, be careful. It's sharp. Don't step on it. Yeah. And Chris, introduce yourself, and David, introduce yourself. And maybe you can read the piece that you were going to read till he comes.
He's coming. He's right here.
Okay.
And I'm David, the fourth in line of the family.
Sorry. Right here.
With my wife, Lori, and my first granddaughter, Willa, who is somewhere. Yep.
Yes.
Who's will be one in a couple months. This is a song, and Chris, you want to?
Yeah, my name is Chris, and Peter has spoken of the river already, but and this hymn is connected to some of his feelings. So, if Dirk is ready, can everyone stand up?
Okay. Yeah, we're going to sing.
Stand for the hymn if you want. If you want to sit, I'm okay.
Yeah, not right now.
Through.
Shall we gather at the river where bright angel feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever
if ever, happy golden day. Yes, we'll gather at the river, beautiful, beautiful river, gather with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. Soon we'll reach the shining river, soon our pilgrimage will cease, soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melody of peace. Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river, with the saints at the river that flows by the throne of God. Thank you. I can do one. And I'm going to play a song that I wrote for Dad a number of years ago, I guess in 2014, for a sort of a group of people that were writing songs in D.C. at the time. And so I ended up writing it about his time in the camp in Oregon, in Walport. And Dad really did appreciate, he really loved hearing this song, and the memories of that place to him was so vivid. So this is called Vladimir. On the edge of madness, on the edge of grief, on the edge of country, I came looking for peace. On the edge of hubris, on the edge of belief, on the edge of war, I came for peace. World War II was raging, a fervor in the air. Drafted to the army, I made my stand right there. I filed for CO status, and a coward I was called. I did not bow to pressure, I stood proud, I stood tall. Ended up near Walport, Camp 56 it was. All from different backgrounds, all shared a common cause. On the windswept shores of Oregon, we served the nation's needs. We crushed rocks, we built roads, and we felled and planted trees. On the edge of madness, on the edge of grief, on the edge of country, I came looking for peace. On the edge of hubris, on the edge of belief, on the edge of war, I came for peace. We soon became the fine arts camp. It drew from far and wide. Days we worked until we dropped, and nights we fought the tide. We knew the art would not ring true, not in that time at least. Someday our voices might be heard when the wars had finally ceased. I served with honest men, each one a pacifist. I felt a close and solid bond among those activists. We were young, perhaps naive, but to this day I'll say that when and if we all find peace, there was a part we played. Men fought and died for a just cause. Hitler had to go. Would I choose the same path now, knowing what I know? But I never dodged, I never ran, I served in my own way. And I held firm to my beliefs, and I hold them to this day. I'm almost 99 now, and time is nearing end. Those years on the Oregon coast, as clear now as then. And to those times and to those men, I make this honest pledge. To always swim against the tide, to live here on the edge. To always swim against the tide, to live here on the edge. Go up. Thank you.
Okay, folks. We've talked with the girls about things like what happens to people when they die and all that, and we've talked about that person's always with you in your heart and your head. And so they've practiced and picked a song and practiced that song and want to sing it for you right now about that.
That's weird. Dum 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 dum. Here's to the ones that we've got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones here today. Close to the ones that we lost on the way, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back you. There's a time that I remember when I did not know the pain. When I believed in forever and everything would stay the same. Now my heart feels like December. Somebody say your name, 'cause I can't reach out to call you, but I know I will one day. Yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Yeah. But everything will be alright. Go on with your voice and say, hey, here's to the ones that we've got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones here today. Close to the ones that we lost on the way, 'cause the dreams bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back you. Do 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 do. Memories bring back you.
It's fuzzy.
Beautiful. Such a good job. Thank you. Where's Joe? Joe.
You may want to hold the little mic. Should I hold it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to take this for me?
Yeah.
It's a sharp one. So this is a poem, author unknown. It's called Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep.
And he picked it.
Pappy picked it.
Believe me, we had many conversations.
Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am in 1,000 winds that blow. I am the softly falling snow. I am the gentle showers of rain I am the fields of ripening grain. I am in the morning hush. I am in the graceful rush of beautiful birds in circling flight. I am the starshine of the night. I am in the flowers that bloom. I am in a quiet room. I am in the birds that sing. I am in each lovely thing. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I do not die.
That is really nice.
Here, Joe. Okay. So, Dad is in us, each one of us. And some of us have expressed it and some not, but many of us have said the same thing, that the river that was Dad flew through us, and he will go on. So we're just going to take a moment of quiet and think about, how does Dad live in us? Whether it's a memory or a trait or a value or a way of being, how is he present and alive in us as we live our lives and make that river grow bigger, and the tributaries and the influence of Dad grows out from us to others. So if you would think about it, be quiet, and when you're ready, if you want, there's no pressure, if you want to say that out loud, as you come and take some ashes of both Mom and Dad, they're mixed together, put some by the root ball of the tree and place your piece of the statue, the sculpture. If you don't want to do any of that, that's fine. So I invite you to think about how Vlad lives in you.
Just while you were talking, a big hawk was circling right up. Big hawk was circling right above us, which never happens here, of course. But so I think that's Dad's spirit looking down on us and watching his own funeral, which is, I think, something he would love to do.
I've heard the birds chirping, and I think that's Pappy trying to say that he likes it.
Wonderful. Henry. Can put the ashes in and...
Was this a necklace that Pappy liked?
It was his.
You want to go up there and put some ashes in?
Yeah. I just want to feel it.
I think we can make a line.
No,
right?
don't.
Rush.
That's a mic.
You're going to adjust this?
Good job singing there. Come on, Tom. Let's go do it.
There's some good pictures of you when you're playing with them.
We can just sit here.
Shall I go with them? We're visiting him.
Okay, you want to do it again. What happened to us? Huh? Well, now Henry wants to pour out some, like Eden. Do you want to go get? Okay, do you want to go stand in line with Elsa and Dirk and Joe?
She doesn't want it? Yeah. She asked you to do it for her.
This is for my mom. They should be driving.
What?
Start a little line here.
You know,
Maybe somebody has to model saying something. Go ahead. I'm not. I don't need to. But,
Yeah.
You can't hear anything from back there.
Yeah.
Way too good. What?
Rebecca has to go down for the last. No.
Their ashes in this. Let's move a little bit over here this way.
I feel God in me and all of nature, and in you
Peter, and into all the family. Be with me forever in our hearts.
Go ahead.
Before Tom moved. But who were the children? They had somebody. When did you go? 99. 99.
Papa, are you in the... Over there, Papa.
The clay courts. After the mother, well after it was chipped off. It's up, yeah, you said that.
I'll say that Vlad was all about family, and not just that, but sort of being conscious of it and making sure that you remembered every day how fortunate you were to have your family. And so I will remember that, and I say that to my sons and my partner Susan. I don't go a day without realizing how lucky I am. How fortunate.
I'm going to remind you of that.
Well, don't. I only do this once in my lifetime.
All right. It's your first bagpipe. Is that your first bagpipe?
I'm going to do one last song. I gave thought to some different ones, but I think I have a song I wrote about 3 years ago called The Boundary Waters. And it was a place I had been up to in Canada and hiked in all the lakes and everything. And I was the head of a law firm for a long time, retired last December. And when I told my law partners about this song, they were like just aghast, because the theme is that I want to be left out on a small island in the Boundary Waters and just let my body rot, and just And in my mind, I think that's something Dad would appreciate also. That's something I can see he would have. Well, he had heard the song because I'd actually written it before then or around then. Yeah. So this is called The Boundary Waters. I'm on the boundary waters of Canada, only in dreams for me now. So when my last breath is drawn, I have one more request of you. Find me a place in your bow. Carry me into the heart of the wilderness. Find me a lake left alone. Lean me against an old balsam fir. Couldn't ask for a better tombstone. I've echoed the calls of loons and tickled the bellies of trout. Slept out in the crisp autumn air and watched a million stars come out. And oh, the northern lights fire up in the night sky. Aurora borealis, a near winter 4th of July. Last I was there in 2003, the trees in their fall perfection. I looked to the shore, but I could barely tell which was real and which a reflection. Do not mourn my passing. This body's no longer me. But just in case the soul hangs round a while, it's where it'd want to be. Forget the details and forget logistics. Forget it's a cross-border crime. I'll take care of all of that. It's not yours to reason or rhyme. Set up the fire and pour shots of rye. Toast to the lakes and the North Star. Toast to my memory and the times that we've had. Then say goodbye, but leave my guitar. Don't forget to leave my guitar. Please leave my guitar. Thank you.
Do you want me to get you a bulb? Or a thing?